Ray stood in the hallway outside Ian's nursery room, holding a small plate of food in one hand. Ian, Ray called softly, "Come eat, and please get out of Daddy's room." Ian was curled up near the bedroom doorway, rubbing his eyes, his blanket dragged behind him on the floor. "I'm sleepy," Ian mumbled. Ray sighed, but he kept his voice calm. "That's what happens when you stay up all night being nosy and listening to Dad Bob and Dad Ray. That stuff is private grown-up stuff and it's not appropriate for you right now." Ian hugged his blanket tighter. "I miss my big boy bed," he said. Ray's face softened for a second, but he shook his head. "That big boy bed is long gone for you right now. You know the routine. When you're in little space, you sleep where you're safe. Now come on, let's fill your belly." Ian looked toward Bob's room, then back at Ray. "Is Dad Bob mad?" "No," Ray said. "He's tired too. Everybody needs rest today." Ian's eyes got wet. "I don't like when things change." Ray set the plate down and opened his arms. Ian leaned into him, letting Ray hug him. "I know," Ray said quietly, "but you're not alone. You've got me. You've got Dad Bob. We're going slow." Bob came into the kitchen doorway and looked at Ian with concern. "Is Ian okay?" Bob asked. Ray lowered his voice. "Bob, it's a new routine for him. He's tired, overwhelmed, and still trying to understand all the changes." Bob looked toward Ian. "And the divorce papers, is he okay about that?" Ray sighed. "By the way, he signed the divorce papers." Bob's face changed. "He did." Ray nodded. "This was his idea." Bob looked surprised. "Ian asked for it?" "Yeah," Ray said. "He said he doesn't want to keep pretending he can live the same way he used to. He wants the house, the routine, and the caregiving to be clear now." Ian looked up from his blanket. "I didn't want to fight anymore," Ian said softly. "I just want to be taken care of." Bob walked closer, his expression softening. "Ian, nobody is mad at you," Bob said, "but this is a big change." "I know," Ian whispered. Ray sat beside him and pushed the plate closer. "Breakfast first, feelings after." Ian looked tired. "Can I nap after?" "Yes," Ray said, "after you fill your belly." Bob sat across from Ian. "And for what it's worth, I'm proud of you for saying what you needed." Ian looked down, blinking fast. "I miss my old life." Ray gently rested a hand on his shoulder. "Missing it doesn't mean going back to it." Ian nodded slowly, then picked up his spoon. Bob watched him take a few bites before saying, "Ian, eat, then I'll change your diaper." Ian looked nervous. "Okay, but not 2 diapers, please." Bob's face stayed firm, but his voice was calm. "Two, as always, no backtalk, understand?" Ian lowered his eyes and nodded. "Yes, Daddy Bob, I understand." Ray watched Bob carefully, making sure his tone stayed gentle. Bob softened a little. "Good, now eat slow, you don't need to rush." Ian took another bite, then another. Ray set a cup beside him. "Drink too," Ray said, "food and water before nap time." Ian looked between them. "Am I in trouble?" Bob shook his head. "No, you're not in trouble, but you do need to follow the new routine." Ray nodded. "This is about keeping you safe and helping you settle down." Ian swallowed another bite. "I just miss when I could choose everything." Bob sighed. "I know, but you asked us to help you. You signed those papers because you said you needed structure." Ian nodded slowly. "I know I did, it just feels real now." Ray sat beside him. "That's because it is real, but real doesn't mean bad, it means we take it one day at a time." Ian finished a little more food, then pushed the plate forward. "I'm full." Bob checked the plate and nodded. "Good enough for now." Ian rubbed his eyes again. "Nap." "Change first," Bob said, "then nap." Ian stood slowly, holding his blanket close. "In my crib?" Ian asked. Bob nodded. "Yeah, I'll change you while your other daddy makes your bottle." Ray stepped in from the hallway. "Only after you're clean and settled, then bottle, then nap." Ian gave a tiny nod. "Okay." Bob held out his hand. "Come on, buddy, let's get you comfortable." Ian took Bob's hand and followed him into the nursery. The room was quiet, with the curtains half closed and Ian's crib waiting against the wall. His stuffed bear sat near the pillow, right where Ray had left it. Ian looked at the crib and sighed. "I still miss my big boy bed." Bob softened. "I know you do, but this routine is what you asked us to help with. We're not doing this to punish you." "I know, Daddy Bob," Ian whispered. Ray came in with a warm bottle and set it on the dresser. He leaned close to Bob and spoke low. "He's gassy," Ray said quietly. "So I gave him the doctor-approved medicine in his milk, the one Ian already agreed to use when his belly acts up." Bob nodded. "Good, that should help him relax." Ray sighed. "Yeah, new routine, no sleep, upset belly, it's a lot." Bob looked toward Ian. "I'll keep everything calm, no rushing him." Ray picked up the bottle and checked the temperature. "And I'll remind him what it is before he drinks. I don't want him thinking we're hiding anything from him." Bob nodded. "Good, he needs structure, not surprises." Ray sat beside the crib. "Ian, your belly been bothering you, so this has your usual medicine in it to help, okay?" Ian blinked sleepily. "For gas." "For your belly," Ray said. "Same one you said was okay before." Ian nodded. "Okay, Daddy Ray." Bob kept his voice gentle. "Then after your bottle, nap time." Ian hugged his blanket and let out a tired sigh. "No more nosy." Ray gave him a soft look. "No more nosy, grown-up talks stay grown-up talks." "Yes, Daddy Ray." Bob finished the care routine and helped Ian sit up. Ray handed Ian his stuffed bear, then picked up the bottle. Ian reached for it, but Ray shook his head. "Crib first." Bob carefully settled Ian into the crib. Ian curled onto his side, hugging the bear to his chest. Ray sat beside the crib and offered him the bottle. "There you go," Ray said softly. "Full belly, clean diaper, quiet room." Ian took the bottle and relaxed almost right away. Bob stood beside Ray, watching Ian's eyes grow heavy. "He's worn out," Bob whispered. Ray nodded. "Big changes do that." Ian's eyes fluttered as he held the bottle with both hands. "Stay," he mumbled. Bob smiled gently. "We'll stay until you fall asleep." Ray reached through the crib bars and rubbed Ian's back. "One day at a time, little one." Ian didn't answer. He was already drifting off. When Ian was finally asleep, Ray and Bob stepped into the kitchen. Ray spoke quietly. "Bob, I ordered him a wheelchair." Bob looked confused. "Like a stroller thing?" Ray nodded. "Yeah, not a baby stroller, but something supportive, safer for long days, outings, and when he gets too tired to walk around." Yeah. Bob rubbed the back of his neck. Sure, if it helps him." Ray leaned against the counter. "It's not about making him helpless, it's about keeping him safe. Ian gets overwhelmed fast, and when he's tired, he pushes himself too hard." "Does Ian know?" Bob asked. Ray nodded. "Yeah, we talked about it before I ordered it. He said he wanted something that made him feel secure when we go out." Bob's face softened. "Then okay." From the nursery, Ian's sleepy voice called out, "Daddy Ray." Ray walked to the doorway. "Yeah, buddy." Ian was curled in his crib, eyes half open. "You ordered it." Ray smiled gently. "Yeah, the chair." Ian looked nervous. "Bob mad?" Bob stepped into the doorway beside Ray. "No, Ian, I'm not mad, I just didn't understand at first." Ian hugged his blanket tighter. "It's for when I get sleepy outside." Ray nodded. "That's right." Bob walked closer and rested his hand on the crib rail. "If it helps you feel safe, then we'll use it." Ian blinked slowly, relieved. "Can it have a cup holder?" Ray laughed softly. "Already picked one with a cup holder." "And blanket room." Bob smiled. "We'll make sure there's room for your blanket." Ian yawned. "Okay." Ray lowered his voice. "Now no more questions, nap time." Ian nodded and curled back into his pillow. Bob and Ray stepped out of the nursery, leaving the door cracked. Bob whispered, "This really is a whole new life for him." Ray nodded. "For all of us." Bob looked back at Ian's room. "Then we do it right." Later, Bob stood by the counter looking over Ian's medicine bottles and the written routine Ray had left beside them. Ray walked in quietly. "Bob," Ray said softly, "come in our room, we'll have 2 hours before he gets up." Bob looked up. 2 hours. Before he could say anything else, Ray leaned in and kissed him gently. Ray smiled a little. "Come with me." Bob set the medicine back down carefully and followed Ray down the hallway. Ray shut the bedroom door, but not all the way, leaving it open enough so they could still hear Ian if he called. Bob sat on the edge of the bed and rubbed his face. "This is a lot, the meds, the crib, the chair, the new routine, all of it." Ray sat beside him. "I know." Bob looked at him. "Are we doing the right thing?" Ray nodded slowly. "Ian asked for structure, he asked us to help him stop falling apart, but that means we have to be careful, firm but not cruel." Bob sighed, I don't want him to think we're taking over his life. We're not, Ray said. We're helping him live the life he chose, there's a difference. Bob looked toward the door, he looked so tired. He is tired, Ray said. He stayed up listening to things he shouldn't have, then got overwhelmed about the papers, the bed, everything. Bob nodded. The divorce papers still bother me, not because he signed them but because he looked so small when we talked about it. Ray took Bob's hand. He's still an adult, even when he's in little space. We have to remember that. Care doesn't erase who he is. Bob squeezed Ray's hand. I needed to hear that. Ray leaned against his shoulder. Me too. For a few minutes, neither of them spoke. The house was quiet. Ian was finally resting, the nursery was calm, and Bob and Ray had a moment to breathe. Then Ray looked at Bob seriously. Bob, if this lifestyle is too much, then say that. Bob looked down. Ray, this is new for me. Your ex-husband is now our manchild. I'm trying to understand it. Ray shut the door a little harder than he meant to. You were fine with our dynamic at the beginning, Ray said. Ian gave consent to this from the beginning. He asked for structure, he asked for care. The only one acting weird now is you. Bob sighed and set the paper down on the dresser. I'm not trying to make him feel bad, I just don't want us to forget he's still an adult. Ray's anger faded a little. I know he's an adult, that's why consent matters, that's why we talk to him, that's why we don't hide things from him. Bob nodded slowly. Then maybe I need more time. I'm not against it, Ray, I'm just overwhelmed. Ray crossed his arms. Then say overwhelmed, don't say it like Ian is some problem we picked up. Bob looked hurt, I didn't mean it that way. Ray sat on the edge of the bed. Ian already feels like everything is changing. The divorce papers, the crib, the wheelchair, the routine. He doesn't need to feel like you regret helping him. Bob sat beside Ray. I don't regret helping him, I care about him, I just don't know all the rules yet. Then ask me, Ray said. Ask Ian when he's not in little space, but don't make jokes about him being my ex-husband like that. It makes it sound wrong. Bob nodded, you're right. The room went quiet. From down the hall, Ian made a sleepy sound in the nursery, but he didn't fully wake up. Bob looked toward the door, he really trusted us with this. Ray's voice softened, yeah, he did. Bob rubbed his face, then I need to do better. Ray reached for his hand. We both do, this only works if Ian feels safe, respected, and heard. Bob squeezed Ray's hand. Okay, no more weird comments. When he wakes up, I'll check on him gently. Ray nodded, and later when he's fully himself, we ask him how he feels about the new routine, not while he's sleepy, not while he's overwhelmed. Bob gave a small nod. Deal. When Ian woke up, the nursery was quiet except for the soft sound of him shifting in the crib. Bob heard him first and walked to the doorway. Ian, Bob said gently, you awake? Ian sat up slowly, rubbing his eyes. His blanket was wrapped around his shoulders and his face looked heavy, not just from sleep but from thinking too much. Bob, Ian said quietly, I heard you. Bob froze. Ray came in behind him. Ian. Ian looked down at his blanket. I get it, Ian said. Ray lost that attraction for me, and I don't like sex anyway, so whatever you and Ray do, keep me out of it. The room went silent. Bob looked ashamed. Ian, I'm sorry, you weren't supposed to hear that. Ian gave a tiny shrug, but his eyes were wet. It's fine, I know I'm different now. Ray stepped closer to the crib, his voice soft but serious. No, you are not a problem, and you are not less because your needs changed. Ian looked up at him. Ray continued, what Bob said came out wrong, but I need you to hear me clearly. My care for you is real, my love for you is real, the routine you chose does not make you unwanted. Ian swallowed hard, but you don't want me like that anymore. Ray sat beside the crib. Ian, you told me a long time ago that sex made you uncomfortable. You told me you didn't want that pressure, that was part of why things changed between us. Ian hugged his blanket tighter. I didn't want to disappoint you. You didn't, Ray said, you were honest, that matters more. Bob stepped closer but kept space. Ian. I shouldn't have called you Ray's ex-husband like it was a joke. You're a person, you made choices, you gave consent. I'm still learning, but that's not your fault. Ian looked at Bob, so you're not mad I'm here? Bob shook his head. No, I was overwhelmed, not mad. Ian looked between them. And you two can be together without making me part of it. Ray nodded immediately. Yes, always, that boundary is yours and we respect it. Bob nodded too. You do not have to be involved in anything you don't want, ever. Ian let out a shaky breath. I just want to be cared for, not used, not laughed at, not pushed. Ray reached through the crib bars and gently touched Ian's hand. That's the rule: care, respect, and consent. Ian nodded slowly. Then Ian looked at both of them and spoke again, his voice quiet but serious. Even though I want this, I don't want to be left out of the conversation like parents do to real kids, because I'm not a real kid, I'm an adult who acts like a kid. Bob's face dropped. Ian, Bob said softly, I wasn't thinking. Ian looked down at his blanket. I know I need help, I know I asked for the crib, the diapers, the routine, all of it, but I still want to know what's happening to me. I don't want you and Ray making choices around me like I'm not here. Ray stepped closer and nodded. You're right, we messed that up. Bob sat near the crib, keeping his voice calm. I'm sorry, I was overwhelmed, but that doesn't excuse it. You should have been part of the conversation. Ian blinked fast, trying not to cry. I don't mind being little, but I hate feeling powerless. Ray's face softened. That's an important difference. Little space doesn't mean no voice. Bob nodded. From now on, big changes get talked about with adult Ian first. The wheelchair, medicine, routines, diapers, sleeping rules, all of it. Ian looked at him. Promise. Bob nodded. I promise. Ray added, and if something needs to happen while you're in little space, we still explain it clearly. No hiding, no guessing. Ian hugged his blanket tighter. I can follow rules, I just need to know I still matter. Bob reached his hand through the crib bars, palm open. You matter, not because of the routine, not because of the diapers, not because of the role, you matter because you're Ian. Ian stared at his hand for a second, then slowly placed his hand on Bob's. I'm still mad, Ian whispered. Bob nodded. You're allowed to be. Ray gave a small smile. That's very adult of you. Ian made a tired face. Don't ruin it. Bob laughed softly, relieved Ian still had a little humor left. Ray opened the crib side carefully. Okay, adult talk first, then cartoons. Ian nodded. And bottle. Bob smiled. Bottle too. Ian looked between both of them. And no talking about me like I'm not in the house. Ray nodded seriously. No more of that. Bob nodded too. You're part of this family conversation. Ian let out a shaky breath. Okay, then I still want this, I just want respect with it. Ray touched Ian's shoulder gently. That's the deal: care, structure, respect, and consent. Ian nodded slowly. Good, now cartoons. Ray looked at Ian and gave a small nod. Diaper first, you're messy. Ian sighed, already knowing the answer. Too right. Ray's voice stayed calm. Always. Ian made a tired little face. Aw man. Bob stood near the doorway, watching the exchange. This time he didn't see it as strange. He saw Ian asking, Ray answering, and the routine helping Ian feel grounded. Bob said quietly to himself, now I get it. Ray glanced over. What? Bob shook his head a little. Nothing bad, I get it now. He isn't being ignored, he knows the rules, he knows what's coming, that helps him. Ian looked over at Bob from the crib. I told you, I want this, I just don't want people talking about me like I'm not here. Bob walked closer and nodded. You're right, and I'm sorry again. Ian hugged his blanket. Okay, but I'm still messy. Ray tried not to laugh. Yes, buddy, we know. Bob stepped beside Ray. Do you want me to help or do you want Ray? Ian thought for a second. Ray, change me, Bob can get cartoons ready. Bob smiled softly. I can do that. Ray opened the crib side and helped Ian settle for the care routine, keeping everything calm and respectful. No rushing, Ray said, then clean clothes, cartoons, and quiet time. Ian nodded. And bottle. Ray raised an eyebrow. Maybe water first. Ian groaned. You ruin everything. Bob laughed from near the TV. That sounds like a no. Ian pulled his blanket over his face. I live in a house of rules. Ray smiled as he gathered the clean supplies. Rules you helped make. Ian peeked out from the blanket. I know, that's why I'm staying. Bob paused at that. Ray looked at Ian with a softer expression. Ian continued, I just needed you both to remember I'm still me. Bob nodded. We remember. Ray said always. Ian grabbed his glasses from the small table beside the crib and pushed them onto his face. I hope it's a power chair, Ian said. Ray gave him a look. Ian, we've been over this with your doctor. This isn't long term. This chair is going to support you while you work on losing weight and building stamina. Ian pouted, but the power chairs look cool. Ray folded his arms. Ian Thomas Rickson. Ian looked away fast. Not fair. Bob stood near the doorway, listening. This time he understood better. Ian was complaining, but he wasn't being ignored. Ray was explaining the rule and Ian was still part of the conversation. Ray sat beside him. It's not about fair or cool, it's about what your body needs right now. Ian hugged his blanket. I just don't want people thinking I'm a baby stroller person. Bob stepped closer. Then we don't call it that. Ian looked at him. Bob continued, it's your support chair, that's it. It helps you when you get tired. It doesn't change who you are. Ray nodded, exactly. Ian sighed, can it still look cool? Ray smiled a little, yes, we can make it look cool. Ian perked up, like with black wheels. Bob said maybe black wheels. And a cup holder. Ray pointed at him, 1 cup holder, not 5. Ian made a face, you hate joy. Bob laughed softly, no, he hates carrying all your stuff. Ian looked at Ray, can I pick a blanket for it? Ray nodded, that's fair, you can pick the blanket and when it gets here we'll try it at home first, no big outing until you feel okay with it. Ian relaxed a little, so I get a say. Ray's face softened, always we may have rules but your voice still matters. Ian looked down at his blanket then nodded, okay, support chair not stroller. Bob nodded, support chair. Ray stood and held out his hand, now come on, cartoons then we talk about lunch. Ian groaned, more routine. Ray smiled, you asked for routine. Ian took Ray's hand and mumbled. I hate when you use my own words. Bob smiled to himself again, he was finally starting to understand Ian's world. The rules were not there to erase him, they were there to help him feel safe enough to stay himself. Bob looked at Ray then at Ian and took a slow breath. Ray, Ian, Bob said, I was confused before but I get it now. Ian sat with his blanket over his lap, glasses slightly crooked on his face. You do. Bob nodded, yeah, this isn't about treating you like you don't matter, it's about helping you feel safe with rules you agreed to. Ray crossed his arms, still watching Bob carefully. Bob continued, I was thinking about it wrong. I kept seeing the crib, the diapers, the support chair, all the routines, and I forgot the biggest part. Ian tilted his head, what part? Bob looked at him, you chose this, you still get a voice. Ian looked down for a second then nodded, yeah, that's all I wanted you to understand. Ray's expression softened. Bob stepped closer but kept his hands to himself. And I'm sorry for making it sound like you were weird or like Ray was stuck with you, that wasn't fair. Ian hugged his blanket tighter, it hurt. Bob nodded, I know and I'm sorry. Ian looked at Ray then back at Bob. I still want the routine, I still want help, I still want little space, but I don't want to feel like the house is talking over me. Bob said then we won't. Ray nodded, big changes get talked about with adult Ian first. Bob added, and little Ian still gets things explained too. Ian smiled a little, good. Ray pointed toward Ian, now speaking of routine you are still getting changed before cartoons. Ian sighed hard, I thought the serious talk would save me. Bob almost laughed, nope, I understand the routine now and the routine says diaper first. Ian groaned, you learned too fast. Ray smiled, come on Ian Thomas Rickson. Ian rolled his eyes, full name again. Full name because you're stalling, Ray said. Ian held up both hands, fine, fine. Ray pointed gently toward the changing mat, lay down and hold your bear. Ian crossed his arms, I don't do that anymore. Ray raised an eyebrow, I know that, that's why I said hold your bear. Ian looked offended, Daddy. Ray stayed calm, time out then. Ian froze then looked at the bear sitting beside him. He sighed hard, grabbed it and pulled it against his chest. Ray nodded, good boy. Ian mumbled, I only did it because timeout is boring. Bob stood by the door trying not to smile. Ray helped Ian settle back carefully, boring is kind of the point. Ian held the bear tighter and looked over at Bob, don't laugh. Bob shook his head, I'm not laughing, I'm learning. Ian narrowed his eyes. You're smiling. Bob nodded a little, but not at you. Ray kept the routine calm and simple. Ian, this is part of the agreement. When your body needs care, you don't fight the whole time. You can complain, but you still cooperate. Ian sighed, I know. Ray softened his voice, and you still get respect. Ian looked down at the bear, I know that too. Bob stepped closer, can I say something? Ian looked at him, what? Bob said, earlier I didn't understand why the routines mattered, but now I see it. The bear, the chair, the diapers, the crib, it's not about making you less adult, it's about helping you feel steady. Ian's face softened a little. Yeah, Ian said quietly, that's all. Ray smiled faintly, good, then after this, cartoons. Ian hugged the bear and gave a dramatic groan, and bottle. Ray looked at him, water first. Ian looked at Bob, see, this house is cruel. Bob smiled, nope, this house has rules. Ian rolled his eyes, but he didn't let go of the bear. Ray noticed and smiled. Ian caught him looking, don't say it. Ray said nothing. Ian grumbled, I'm only holding it because you told me to. Ray nodded, sure. Bob whispered, now I really get it. Ian pointed the bear at him, no you don't. Ray laughed softly, all right buddy, let's finish the routine, then you can argue with cartoons instead of us. And for the first time that day the house felt calmer. Ian still had rules, Bob still had things to learn, Ray still had to balance firmness with care, but now they all understood the same thing. Ian's little space did not erase his adulthood, his routine did not erase his voice, and the care only worked because Ian had chosen it, understood it, and was finally being included in it.